on the part of both sides. But then a last-ditch effort should have been made by the president to ensure that both sides, the assembly and the governor, had to find a way, to move forward. One of the major protagonists or antagonists, whichever side one lies, serves in the president cabinet, which is the former governor of Rivers State and now the FCT minister, is a major actor, in what has been happening in Rivers State. And I felt that the president could as well have called all of them, the minister, the governor, the House of Assembly members, call them to a meeting in Abuja and say, look, gentlemen, you have fought this far. Now is the time for governance. Just go back home, resolve whatever issues are contending, and let's find a way forward. Shocking, I must say, over the announcement of the state of emergency. So I align myself with the rest of the people who have said the state of emergency should have been declared by the president.
Now, let me just pick up from what you mentioned about the minister of the FCT, Nyesom Wike, and his involvement. A lot of people are agitated about the fact that it was just the governor of River State and the lawmakers who were suspended, and there was nothing regarding the minister, Nyesom Wike. Even though on paper, some people are also arguing, there's been speculations as to, what in fact is his involvement in what has been going on between the lawmakers and the governor of Rivers State. But what are your thoughts really on that narrative? Do you think perhaps directly there's been any kind of influence by the minister of the FCT in all the crisis that has been going on in that state?
But the minister of the FCT has never eaten his like for one of the sides. He is not new. Every Nigerian knows that. I think, was it just last week, Wednesday? The FCT minister was live on about 9 television stations in Nigeria, and he stated clearly what were his thoughts towards the crisis in Rivers State. So it's nothing new. Nobody will say he has not taken sides. Everybody knows. He said it. He has even in that interview, he stated that election is impeachment is a democratic process, and there is essentially the constitution.
I mean, everybody has had a chance to express their thoughts. We've had different, stakeholders, elder statesmen who have gone on the media to express their own thoughts for or against what is going on in River State as per, the impeachment and all the crisis happening. So would you say you would hold him to that account because he's also expressed, his distaste or position with the Rivers crisis?
What makes his case special is that he's very central, to both sides. Remember too that the governor, while speaking sometime in Rivers State, I think over the weekend or so, where they organized a reception in his honor, he said it outrightly that even the governor didn't want to be governor. He nominated the governor himself. When it came down to push to shove, the governor, the man who is the governor now, actually wanted someone else to be governor because it came down to just both of them. Himself, who was the accountant general at then, and one Isaac Kamalu, who was the commissioner for finance under Wike. Wike himself used his mouth to say that, look, Fubara preferred Isaac Kamalu to be the governor of the state. Right, so it said he looked at the faces of other people that were there and the sentiment felt, well, can we just find a way to balance the political divide in River State of upland and riverine? And because the governor is riverine, they just have to settle, for him. Wike is central because he helped the current governor to become the governor of the state. The House of Assembly members are all his acolytes, they are all his loyalists and all of that. So it's a breakdown in a political group headed by the minister, Nyesom Wike. He owns the group that produced both the governor and House of Assembly members. And because he owns the group, he's now very central as to how to resolve or not to resolve the crisis that has led to what we are talking about at this moment. That's why his own statements, have been crucial as to what has happened, in the state.
All right, Olalekan, let's get something in right here. Many have wondered what grievance it is that played out between the governor and his predecessor that, led to the stage where they are right now. And if all options to sort out the situation between both of them was exhausted before the president had to make that nationwide broadcast yesterday to declare the state of emergency in Rivers State. So if you'd like to maybe highlight some of what this grievance is? Because many wonder what exactly happened. What agreement did they have or sign? Because the governor of the state constantly stated that whatever he was doing was in the best interest of the people of the state. Or was he just simply playing to the gallery and taking advantage of the emotions of residents of Rivers State, as well as Nigerians some Nigerians who supported his actions and inactions?
Well, it's excuse me, please. It's difficult to determine whether they had any agreement or not. So you have to back as a 2023. There was an attempt to impeach the governor in October, which made him just barely 5 months or 6 months or so in the office. So I do not know whether they had any agreement. But from that October, things have not been rosy on the part of the legislature and the executive. And like I said earlier, the Minister of SCT is the political leader of the team that produced these two groups. And clearly, he had taken sides with the House of Assembly members. And that's why we've had all this on and off. At the time, the House of Assembly members claimed to have defected. They said it didn't defect. That has not been laid to rest by the Supreme Court, which has stated that, look, these people didn't defect. There is no evidence before the court to suggest whether they defected or not. And so both sides have been trying to flex, moves as to who has more power in the state. And you could say the recent events in the last couple of days after the Supreme Court judgment, 48-hour ultimatum to the governor. The governor didn't respond. We want the governor to sack the minister. The governor said, I want to present the budget in line with Supreme Court ruling. And all of that. It became inevitable that communication had broken down with those two crucial arms of government. The assembly had said, look, they want to investigate the chief judge, of the state for alleged age 4 investigation. That's now trying to drag the third arm of government necessary. And it's difficult to say that this is just fight in a camp owned by the Minister of FCT.
All right, so we missed out a couple of things you said in wrapping up that thought that you just shared, but I'd like to get right into, something that's really concerning for a lot of Nigerians right now as to how does this impact governance in the state? Will it create a leadership vacuum? Will the sole administrator be able to hold things together for 6 months to ensure that the state is ready and at peace when it is time to hand over, if indeed the National Assembly decides to vote on the state of emergency to continue for the duration that the president spoke on yesterday?
Well, I think, first things first, I think the immediate thing now is to find out whether with the arrival of the administrator, if the state will be able to receive its share from the federal allocation. Remember that the Supreme Court had ordered that no money should be released to the Rivers State government until the governor presents a budget. So one crucial thing with the administrator is he going to prepare a budget? He's going to prepare a budget. It means that he now has to submit that budget before the National Assembly, because it is now the National Assembly to take over the functions of a Rivers legislature. So the arrival of the administrator, is he going to prepare a budget now and present before the National Assembly for them to approve? He's going to the suspended governor now. If he has a prepared budget already, can you just submit it to present before the National Assembly? Because it is now workers have to be paid. Right. So it means the first task before the administrator is arriving at Port Harcourt today, hopefully, is that maybe meet with the civil servants, the permanent secretaries and all of them. Can they prepare probably a budget that can just work for 6 months? Maybe a 6 month budget that will ensure that is in office. So how do we pay workers? How do we fund contractors that are carrying on various government activities in Rivers State? A lot of projects are ongoing. How do contractors get funding to ensure that they're able to finish this project? That's on one part. On the other part is that, look, there are no elected chairmen and actors across the 23 local government areas of Rivers State. So the new man, what will he be doing? There's already a Supreme Court judgment that says do not pay money to don't pay money to any local government that does not have elected the councillors and council chairmen. We do not have that in Rivers State as of today. The Rivers State Independent Electoral Commission had already announced a timetable, for local government election. With the new administrator, stop that. With the new administrator, dissolve all boards and parastatals, in Rivers State. Although the president in his speech stated that the administrator will not make any new law, but could make regulations, as to day-to-day activities of the state, which must be approved, by the Federal Executive Council. I'm sure regulations could just mean maybe when governors meet with their commissioners in State Executive Council to determine which project, policies, and programs to be carried out, and all of that. So the first impact it will have on governance is how will civil servants get their salaries. With the new man, present budget, because budget presentation was the key of the quarrel between the governor and the House of Assembly just before the announcement of
sorry to cut you short there.
Emergency.
We do have to go on a commercial break. So just stay on the line. We'll take a quick break for the commercials and come right back and pick up from where we're living off right now. You can be a part of the conversation. Watch us live on Facebook and on YouTube at Nigeria Info Abuja. Send your messages or questions to WhatsApp 080-999-30137. Don't go away.
Your number one talk, news, and sports station. This is Nigeria Info.
Are you looking?
Audio
Connection established.
This is Nigeria Info.
Nigeria Info.
This is Nigeria Info.
Nigeria Info.
This is Nigeria Info.
Nigeria Info.
is Nigeria Info.
Nigeria Info.
This 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 is Nigeria Info.
Nigeria Info.
Some comments on YouTube. This is from Hafsat Mwazu, who says things are actually becoming so tough in rivers. Mohammed Wambai says just like the states sued the FG for Naira redesign in 2023 and won. I'm hoping the states will summon the courage to test the law at the Supreme Court again. Sections 305 of the 1999 Constitution does, and it says does not give the president power to suspend the sitting governor and his deputy. Well, let's get to our guest, Mr. Olalekan Ige, who is a political analyst from River State. Has been with us since the start of the conversation. Thank you so much, Mr. Ige, for sticking around with us to have this conversation.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right, so let's get to this real quick and get to understand what precedent this sets for future federal interventions in our states, as well as what does this mean for democratic governance and federal-state relations in Nigeria?
Well, it's not a good one, for democracy in Nigeria. I remember when Olusegun Obasanjo, then president, declared state of emergency in Ekiti State, incidental from Ekiti State. When declared state of emergency in Ekiti State, we all joined to condemn it, regardless of whatever differences it may have had with Fayose, as then was the governor of Ekiti State. There was absolutely no need for President Obasanjo to declare state of emergency and remove sitting governor. That tampering, with the House of Assembly then in Ekiti State. We had state of emergency too under President Goodluck Jonathan, or he didn't remove the governor of those states, neither did he sack neither did he suspend the legislature in those three states, in the north. These are the bid well, for democracy in Nigeria. And one terrible thing about laying the precedent is that some others are noticing now. They are jotting it down, and one day we never can tell who will be the next president of Nigeria. You could as well activate this and damn the consequences and say, nothing, will happen. Would this be the last state of emergency to be declared under President Bola Ahmed Tinubu? Is doubtful, because if this happens in Rivers State, it means that it can actually happen in any other state where the president may not be comfortable with what is going on, and it can hide under the guise of declaring the state of emergency to remove the governor. The politics of 2027 is just by the corner. Can some governors be removed even before they end their tenure, so that they can pave way for somebody maybe who supports the president to become governor, in those states? It doesn't bid well. I think the president should have a rethink. That's my suggestion, going forward. The president should have a rethink and say, maybe I took a hard decision, in Rivers State. Can we reduce it to just 3 months, just to allow things to stabilize, so that in those 3 months he's able to pull all the political actors together and be able to address them once again. Is the father, of the nation. I know that he had made an intervention before that didn't sit well, with some sections of Rivers people.
Okay, the network is fluctuating, but if you can hear us, that's a major concern a lot of people are having. The fact that the question still stands as to if the president of Nigeria has the legal right to suspend a sitting governor of the state. And another major concern is the administrator you mentioned earlier. A lot of people are asking questions as to if that was the right decision to make for the state. Do you see that being a problem in terms of, the rising tensions in River State currently, especially because he's a Cross Riverian, and if you're bringing someone who's from Cross River to come administer River State, another state entirely, for the period of 6 months, do you see that having any kind of negative downturn for the current situation in the state?
Well, quickly, the moment you appoint an administrator, one of the first things you want to do is to ensure that there's some reasonable level of neutrality. And one of the best ways to ensure some reasonable level of neutrality is to bring somebody from outside of the state. That way, no one side of the state is accusing the other side, of having produced the administrator, and therefore is trying to favor, some people. So naturally, when you appoint an administrator, it has to be somebody outside of the state. When Obasanjo declared same in Ekiti State, he brought Olurin from Ogun State, to administer Ekiti State as a then. So that may not necessarily be the problem. But as to the property of the president declaring state of emergency, I like the Nigeria Bar Association said, look, president doesn't have such powers under the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999, as amended, to unilaterally suspend them. The governor was elected like him. The House of Assembly members were elected, like him. The worst case scenario will have been, I'm declaring a state of emergency, but these people continue to remain in office. But let this administrator handle certain areas that the president feels the governor, has not been able to enforce his authority as the governor of the House of Assembly, or a mediator. Maybe in this case, maybe appoint a presidential mediator to arrive Rivers State and put both sides together and extract firm commitment from both of them to ensure that governance, continues.
But still on the neutrality you mentioned. A lot of people have, social media is agog with pictures of this chosen administrator and the minister of the FCT, Nyesom Wike, and people have been making speculations as to that choice that somewhat favors the FCT minister in the entire political crisis in Rivers State. Do you think perhaps that was an intentional decision, choosing that individual in question, who has been alleged to have some kind of political affiliation with the FCT minister in the years past?
No, I don't believe in that picture. the pictures were taken when Nyesom Wike was the governor of Rivers State. I'm sure if you go around Nigeria, there'll be other pictures of the chief of naval staff also visiting governors in respective government houses, across Nigeria. I've also seen a picture of the administrator and former governor of Rivers State, Chief Wike, Rotimi Amaechi. I've also seen that picture where they were shaking hands. The chief of naval staff, as it then was only performing his constitutional responsibility of visiting states, especially in the Niger Delta, where Navy operates, heavily in the Niger Delta, and paying a visit to the governor in government house does not necessarily suggest that they have been friends. Those were just official visit, and you could see that the chief of naval staff was well decorated, in his military uniform. So I don't believe in that.
All right,
I'm bringing up pictures of when Wike was governor and chief of naval staff visited. I don't believe in that picture. I don't believe in it.
All right, let's get into what legal or political steps can be taken by the states to either reverse or adjust to this situation. What options can they explore?
Well, the governor of Rivers State has issued a statement already appealing for calm and stating all what he tried to do to ensure that there is governance in the state. Its men have not suggested that they will be going to court, to challenge the declaration of state of emergency. But you could say maybe it's still early in the days. Maybe they will try and process, these thoughts. The governor will want to avail himself of advices, maybe his legal team. Are they going to challenge this? Are they not going to challenge that? The House of Assembly has already said they welcome the state emergency. So it means that the House of Assembly may not be interested in changing the declaration of state of emergency. Like I said, it's still early in the days. Today is just barely how many years later when the president announced the state of emergency. So I'm sure in the next few days, they will use it to process their thoughts, avail themselves of the best of legal advices, and see whether they should challenge the declaration of state of emergency, or they just relax, and wait until around September or thereabout, when they should be expected back in office. Although the president did say it was 6 months in the first instance. So we don't know whether...
Yeah,
so there could be an extension of it.
Yes.
Huh.
Interesting.
But more than often not, if we check our recent history, especially under the return of democracy to Nigeria in 1999, no president, neither Obasanjo, Goodluck,
Oh my. Olalekan, there's something happening with your connection right there. We're missing out on what you're saying. Do you want to readjust where you are? Hello? Hello?
Okay, while we're trying to get...
I guess it's the network. I'm trying to change my location.
Okay,
right, perfect. So while you're doing that...
Let's try this, yes. Go ahead, please. Are you there? Hello?
So I would think that the president has said... can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, so the president said that the state agency is for an initial period of 6 months, meaning it could be extended. But now said that since the patriotic dispensation, when we have state agency, unfortunately, it led... Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Yeah, hello, okay. Okay, so unfortunately, it led to the exit of Ayo Fayoshi as the governor of the new governor was elected. There was basis to extend the state of emergency. When President Goodluck Jonathan declared state of emergency in some states in the north, he didn't extend it too. So I want to believe that have no extension after the 6 months.
All right. Let's get to the phone lines and take some comments and thoughts. Please hold on. Stay on the line, Olalekan. We won't let you go yet. We need to wrap up this conversation with you at some point. You can call 0700 951 0000, 08095 974869. Please keep your thoughts under 60 seconds. We can take as many as possible. Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning. We can hear you.
My name is Adola from Duse Alagi.
You're welcome. Go ahead.
These politicians in River State, they mess up and they are politically trapped. So, there's no victor, there's no vantage. Both of them have lost. But the biggest losers are the people of River State that they will suffer for the next 6 months, if extended for the next 1 year. But one thing I want them to do now, Fubara will still come back. If they go to the round table, he is a political father, they discuss and it's ready to honor the agreement, not back to the settable. So it's likely they come back. But for me, it's coming back is very slim because at the end of the day, the presidency have interest in that state because of the political interest and economic interest.
All right.
So, and they see it as a stumbling block.
All right. Thank you. Good morning.
Yes, hello, good morning.
Welcome, sir.
Nigeria Info. My name is Abdul calling from Maitama.
Go ahead.
Before the declaring River State as a state of emergency, I think there is a program in this studio on the respect that whether is it right or the good time that Mr. President should intervene. I told you no, because I know this is what is going to happen. I'm not in support of Mr. President to intervene in the matters of River State. River State has the representative in the red chamber and the green chamber. It's in Nigerian politics when they declare your state, you will just fall their arm. Nigerian people will just fall their arm and take a look at what Mr. President will decide on the respect of the people of the entire state. And that is not how it works. They have to be debate in the red chamber and the green chamber to accept or not and go through votes. If the majority of the people in the red chamber carry the vote saying yes or no, Mr. President saying the River State is going to be a under state of emergency is not going to work.
All right, let's take one more call and get back to our guest. Good morning.
Good morning, my sister.
You're welcome.
Yeah, this is Drunka calling from Bali.
Go ahead.
Yeah. State of emergency in River State. Sole administrator has taken over. In Nigerian leadership, are you sure after 6 months this man will go away? He has come to stay. It's a military government, military man. He has come to stay. I beg, so that this will extend to other states or even to the federal level of a military government. Thank you.
All right. Well, that again is what a lot of Nigerians are questioning, Mr. Ige, about the legality of having a military administrator in a democratic country, as it were. Do you see that posing a problem in the near future?
Well, we don't exactly have a military administrator. So let's also be clear about that. What the president has announced is an administrator.
Right.
The man, I think the man that is been appointed is no longer in service. So you won't call him a military man. He's a civilian man. You can say, yes, he has a military background, but he is not in the military. So he is not a military administrator. This is an administrator, a civilian in this case. So can we question the propriety of having to appoint an administrator for a state in a democratic dispensation? I said it earlier that I like my thoughts with that of the NBA that says, look, the president doesn't just have the power to declare a state of emergency. And it's clear in the constitution as to how a governor can be removed, or suspended from office, which is either he resigns, probably dies in office, or is impeached by the state House of Assembly. I join my thoughts with that to say, look, because, one thing about this kind of scenario is that when we set a precedent like this, it means that future president of Nigeria will also practice it.
Right.
And you never can tell, you never can tell how somebody can exercise such prerogative. So you may actually not like a governor. You could cause some kind of mayhem, in the state of a governor you don't like. Then you use that as a proxy, to suspend the man from office, especially in a democratic regime like this where anything can happen. So probably a governor is not supporting you and you feel that you've tied all your belt to get his support, is not supporting you. What stops you from suspending him from office 6 months before the expiration of his tenure?
Right.
It means that you can actually orchestrate a crisis in the state and use that crisis to say, look, there is no longer governance, in the state. So governor, House of Assembly, please proceed on a 6 month suspension. It means that you can actually suspend him 6 months before the expiration of his tenure.
Let me take you up on that, because
yes,
a lot of people are linking the two explosions, the one that happened in Onelga and the one that happened at the Trans-Niger pipeline, to the back and forth, the part tussle between the FCT minister and the governor. Do you think that is the reality of the situation, saying that these explosions were orchestrated so that there would be a call for a state of emergency to gain some kind of political control over the sitting governor of the state?
If you believe in a conspiracy theory, then anything can happen. Conspiracies can be conjured, at any point in time. I listened to the speech of the president, and where he stated that the governor didn't say anything about it, and all of that. To me, that is clearly being biased. You did not hear from the governor. If there were 2 explosions in Rivers State, did you summon the governor to Abuja to hear his side of the story? Did you ask the governor whether he knows whatever that is going on? Without hearing from the governor, you had already assumed that the governor probably had conspired with some people, to cause it, or you were probably having a collateral, damage on the back of the governor. If the president felt that anything had happened in Rivers State, what's up the president? The president has the phone line of the governor. He could easily have even invited the governor to Abuja. Hey, young man, what's happening in Port Harcourt, or what's happening in Rivers State? I've heard there are explosions. What do you know? What don't you know about it? And all of that. But to just summarily believe that the governor was behind it, according to the statement of the president, didn't sound good at all. And that's why I'm saying, look, maybe the president can take a second thought and say, did I act, too rashly? Can I reduce this 6 months, to 3 months, since I'm going to get the approval of the National Assembly to make it a formal state of emergency? These are some of the issues, that can be looked at. As far as Rivers people, are concerned, like this.
All right, Mr. Ige, before we let you go, because we need to wrap up on this conversation right now, some reports had it that the whereabouts of the governor could not be, pointed out. Can you give us an idea where he is, if you, have an inkling to it? And what, can you hear me?
Do you have intel into where the governor might be?
Hello?
Mr. Ige, can you hear us, please?
Yes, I can hear you now. I lost the connection at the time. I can hear you now.
Great to have you back. So I was asking, some reports made the rounds that the location of the governor, who is now suspended, could not be ascertained. Can you confirm where exactly he could be and what he can do in the timeline of the suspension being effective?
Please, can you come again, please? I didn't hear you. You said what?
I asked the question. Okay, great. I asked the question about the whereabouts of the governor and maybe what he can do with his time in the period where his suspension is still active.
Well, the last I heard about the governor as of yesterday night was that it was still in government house as of yesterday night. I will have to confirm what has happened between yesterday night, and this morning. And what can the governor do in these 6 months? He could have a sober reflection over some of the decisions he has taken. Will he try to reach out, now that both of them, the legislature and the executive, since both of them have been suspended from office for the next 6 months, can they not try to reach each other and say, look, okay, gentlemen, we've made mistakes. What has happened is not to the benefit of the state. Can we just come together and move forward and find a way? Will he make an approach, to the Minister of FCT, who is his leader, at least somebody who helped him get into office? Will he be able to talk to the minister and say, look, I think we are fought enough. Can we now come together and ensure that we deliver democratic dividends, to Rivers people? I'm sure a lot of decisions, advices, will be coming this way. And some of the people who had no access to him while he was governor will probably have access to him now and be able to say, look, this is what we think we should do. Another, it will be open to a lot of advices and see what they can do, going forward.
Right. Well, our time is almost up, but we do have to let you go now. Final thoughts from you in the coming days. What should Nigerians expect from, the state of emergency? I know the FEC meeting will be happening anytime soon. What are the expectations or things that we should look forward to in the coming days?
I think it's to look forward to the steps of the administrator. His action or inactions may further cause a serious divide in the state. He has to find a way to remain as neutral, as it can be. If it panders to one side, then it could also inflame emotions, in the state. It needs to come clean. Without him coming clean, then 6 months of state of emergency can actually be extended if it doesn't come clean and the state, is inflamed by his actions or inactions. I think the committee will probably review what the administrator will do.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Olalekan Ige, for your time. We do hope you have a lovely day ahead.
Yeah, most welcome, please.
Thank you very much. We'll have a good day as well. Let's take some messages quickly. I'm going to race through these messages. I guess Godfatherism is the strength in this case. What do you expect of birds of a feather? Nigerian politicians can be said to have no shame. Declaration of the state of emergency is allegedly in favor of the former governor of the state, is what Ibro from Outer shares as his thoughts. Okay, the truth is, if Tinubu had not done this, legislators would have impeached Fubara and his supporters would have gone haywire. The two different explosions were the shape of things to come. I tell you, the state of emergency is the best for River State, is what Banki in Wusetu shares as his thoughts.
And Aya from Maitama says, good morning. The president maintained a good balance by suspending Wike's boys, that is the lawmakers, and those calling for the suspension of Wike are confused politicians, is what he says. Danjuma Eagle from Sabonwuse says, I have a challenging question for the president. After the Supreme Court judgment that compels the governor of River State to resubmit the budget of River State, that's a very long question. But Danjuma Eagle, thank you for your time. Sadly, our time is up. We probably would pick up on this conversation tomorrow on the show. So do well to keep listening to Nigeria Info. I am Gabriellla.
And I am Itodo. You can catch up on YouTube and Facebook.
Imagine acres upon acres of lush greenery, streets of stunning architectural masterpieces, a serene recreational center with an impressive view of a welcoming stream, all harmonized in one place. Welcome to the...
This is Nigeria Info.